at freedomslips.com. This is October the 18th, 2016. And of course, Tuesday night, and depending on where you are, is depending on what time it is. And for me, it's only a little after 4 in the afternoon, so it's still daylight and sunny and warm. I did mention that I do live in Hawaii, right? Well, I live in Hawaii, and y'all are welcome. I live on the Big Island there's an active volcano going on, and you can come hug my big earth keeper. I have a store there called Cathy's Angelite Crystals, Miracles, and Joy. With the largest crystal in Hawaii, it's over 1,000 pounds. You can come hug. Oh, my God. And I do my free pain and stress release and energy balancing for those that need it, and pain release. And you can lay on my angelite table, hug the big crystal. Why not come to Hawaii? And then the end of this month, on the 31st, we are having another quantum leap. And I figure, why not kind of counter what's going on Halloween? So it's the Enlightenment Movement, and all I'm going to ask you all to do is chant, may divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. Did I say that too fast? Okay, I'll say it slower, okay? May divine enlightenment descend around everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. That is not hard. You know, we really need that push. And the quicker we go into the golden age, all this craziness really stops happening. And check out the Enlightenment Movement 2016 website. That's up, and we put the daily power prayers on it, and you can really join in and help us manifest the golden age of enlightenment. And that website is Enlightenment Movement 2016 at shutterfly.com. Oh, what should we say about this crazy election? If it wasn't so serious, it would be the absolutely best soap opera there has ever been written. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. They just fling stuff up, and they just pull up the garbage and fling more stuff at each other. And of course, I'm talking about Hillary and Trump. But of course, they give each other, and they've done so much to give each other so much to fling at each other, right? And I'm not really a Trump fan. He really scares me, but so does Hillary. All right. But when Trump come out at one of the last debates and told Hillary, you know, if I'm elected, I'm hiring a special prosecutor to really get down on you and check you out. And everybody in the news media is going, oh, how dare he? And all I could think of is, oh my God, that would be brilliant. Yes, you're finally saying something awesome. Doesn't mean I'm going to vote for you, though. But, you know, sometimes the truth just gets out there. And then he needs to be investigated for all his misogynist crap and all the crap he said about women. Oh, man. You know, they are really scraping the bottom of the barrel this time. And they're not even giving us the illusion of having the illusion that we got to have somebody good in the office. I mean, it is downright crazy. And of course, you know, more garbage is coming up. And it's, like I said, a big soap opera. And I mean, how can you not watch the debates to go, oh my God, what is this idiot, and I mean Trump, going to say next? What is he going to do? Now, what also, I step back and it's like, God, we're so into this because it's the the best soap opera you've ever had. What else are they doing on in the world? It's probably way more important. Although I will say that, you know, guys, there is another candidate out there that you can actually vote for. You do have a choice, and her name is Jill Stein. She's with the Green Party, and she's got way more integrity than the other two peeps are that are running. That's all, you know, you only hear about Trump and Hillary. And it makes me kind of sick. Because Jill Stein is out there, and she's not doing that bad either. And with a little help and a little PR from you all, she could actually win, except that you probably know there's a good possibility that the voting machines are rigged. Just saying, just kind of happens every year, especially a year when Bush was running and there was a town, we'll just say, of 5,000 people and 10,000 people voted. Now, do you think they took those votes back? Oh, God, no. They just went, oh, this doesn't look right. And then just move on to something else. It's amazing. Oh, and you wonder why people don't give a crap about the elections or don't want to buy into it. Because I'm certainly not. But anyway, the really good gossip that was brought up, and I just keep going, oh my God, this is just too awesome. Did you know that Bill Clinton, there's a good possibility that his father was a Rockefeller, which kind of explains why he got up to where he is so quickly. And I think Bill was supposed to be adopted, and there was a Rockefeller that was a governor of Arkansas during that time. Just, like I said, just good gossip coming up, and how can you not? Pray for our country, people, because we certainly need it. And the only thing that's going to shift it is enlightenment. The Dakota pipeline. Oh my God. Obama's with two forked tongues. Is he doing anything to help those people up there stop the pipeline? No, not there. But he's kind of making us look over at the Mississippi, and I think he's kind of putting a stop on that. But it's only temporary, and it makes me kind of think, what are they doing? Putting a stop so they can all get together and think how they're going to make it go and really run over us? Well, the people up in the Dakotas, they need help. They need bodies up there. Actually, all the people fighting at the pipelines need help. You want to voice your opinion? Let me give you Obama's phone number. And this is to the White House, not his personal number. Okay. Okay. And that is 202-456-1111. And if you really don't want to call him, the fax number is 202-456-2461. Oh, dear. Excuse me. I've got two really cool guests coming on the show. And the first hour, I've got Marc Treitler coming on, and he wrote a book with his daughter, Leanna, and it's called My Dad is an Alcoholic. What about me? Oh, I think that should kind of give you a clue to what that's going to be. And I don't think people, really talk about alcoholism and really how much it destroys the family. And given choices, and maybe learning that maybe it's actually an illness, a disease. Now, alcohol abuse, of course, has been around for as long as alcohol, making it a social issue that has lasted for centuries. And it's only since the 20th century that it's been addressed as a medical issue. And it's only in the last few decades that the propensity for addiction has been linked to genetics, as well as social environment and personal choice. While medical science is addressing how we get addicted, Marc Treitler and his family have addressed how to get past it and how to help the next generation avoid it. Now, the second hour, I've got James Grippando coming on. God, I like saying that. Grippando. It just kind of rolls off the tongue. And he wrote this incredible book. And he's a New York Times bestselling author called The Penny Jumper. And it's wow. I've not really had a lot of books that would just really pull me in, and this one certainly does. And he talks about Wall Street and computers, algorithms, which I'll have explained to us later when he comes on, and what penny jumping is. And of course, he wrote a non-fictional book, because if it was fictional, the guy'd probably be dead by now. It's amazing, how you can hide stuff under fiction. So he'll be on the second hour. Now, again, the first hour is going to be Marc Treitler, and we're going to talk about alcoholism and alcohol abuse and how it really kind of crushed a family and how they overcome it. And, I have to give this man a lot of credit because Marc Treitler grew up in a family with a deep history of addiction on his mom's side. And although his mom avoided alcohol and drugs, Marc and his sister succumbed to addiction. Now, Marc's wife and kids struggled to understand the drinking and the anger. It was only when he recognized the effects of his addiction on his family that he took the necessary steps to recover. Now, science equates allergies to alcohol and drugs to other allergies, much like allergy to peanuts. If one of your parents has an addiction, you might have that same allergy hiding in your genes. And the good news is that you do have a choice. And Marc and his daughter, Leanna, show adolescents how to avoid turning on that allergy. So his book is called My Dad is an Alcoholic. What About Me? If that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what would. And Marc and his daughter, Leanna, tell readers everything Marc wishes someone has told him about addiction. And together they share the family's journey of recovery while providing adolescents with the tools they need to avoid ever having their addiction gene turned on. And I know they wrote it for preteens and teenagers. And, my age group, I think it's a book that anybody can relate to. It doesn't matter. They just made it very simple to understand. And we will get into that shortly. So while we're waiting for Marc to give us a holler and a shout out and to come on the program, let's do a little bit of energy work and take advantage of the time. So feel yourself reconnect with the creator and that energy just flowing into your body and whopping you with light. And we're going to form this big bubble of light in the center and put a huge crystal underneath it. That's 10 tons. It's a big bubble, right? And in this bubble, we're going to put all the protectors of the land and water. Now let's send energy out to all the defenders of the land. May they be protected and send all they need to win: food, water, clothes, ideas, and brilliant free lawyers. May their ranks swell as more people become aware of their protests. Let all the sheriffs, police, and military be reconnected to the Creator so they act in right action with kindness and consideration toward all protesters. See all the government and corporations backing down and the activists winning. And we call to Obama's higher self to get him to speak truth and to back up his words with positive action that will defend the protectors of the land and the protectors. Now we're going to put in this bubble all the equipment that the oil companies are using to harm the land and to build this pipeline. And all the tractors, the trucks, the bulldozers, the diggers, all the cars that they use, all their electrical, their equipment, their phones. And we're going to call the Michael to cut the ties with it. We violet flame through all those elementals to change their energy and to heal them. Then we reconnect them to the Creator. And we command them to be neutral, to break down, to not work. Now let's send energy to all that equipment and all to the weak spots and see it breaking down as all this energy just hits those weak spots. And around all their computers, we are going to put lots and lots of magnets. and see the computers, everything go blank. We're going to put those magnets on all that hard drive. And then we're going to call to the elementals of the land, the snakes, the spiders, the ants, the birds, the bees, the hawks, the sand mites, to infest all that equipment, helping all that equipment that's being used to hurt the land break down. So let's fill it all up with light and love and take a deep breath and release it. Well, hello, Mark. How are you this evening? Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Cathy. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. And not feeling guilty about saying that. How's that?
That's a good thing. You got to enjoy life when you can, right?
Well, yeah, it's not, they say what you go through, it's how you go through it.
I agree with that. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. Makes you stronger. Whatever other corny songs there are out there, but they're actually pretty good quotes.
All right. Well, you wrote a really awesome book with your daughter. It's called My Dad is an Alcoholic. What About Me? And I have to really honor you for being brave enough not only to write about it, to be, brutal about what you went through, and just pulling in your family in on the project.
Well, thank you, Cathy. What began as a quest to make sure that my children understood the disease of addiction and alcoholism that could be in their DNA turned into a project that we thought could help other children across the country. So that's what we're trying to do. The more people we spoke to in the last few years since we had this idea, the more we realized that the alcoholism and addiction is growing across the country. It's not getting better. And one of the neglected groups of people in the disease is children. And doing our part to try to fix that.
Well, you talk about alcohol abuse, and that's one thing. And then you can also, people have, like we're talking about addictions. And how do you know when you cross that line from alcohol use into alcoholism? How would you define both words?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And, what I've learned from my personal experience and from interviews and becoming probably as much of an expert as I can is that it's when it goes from a want to a need. So it's when when you might want a couple glasses of wine with dinner, or you're going to a football game, you might want a couple bottles of beer, which is how most alcoholics start. I started the same. I was in a fraternity. You drank some beer, and you didn't have to do it all the time. But at some point during the progressive disease of alcoholism and addiction, it turns into a need. So you notice at nights you're looking for alcohol. You're even if you're alone, you need it. Your body craves it and needs it. And it's similar to experiences that I've been told of on interviews for pills and drugs. While the first few times someone experiments with drugs or pills, it might be just that they want to try it, or the peer pressured into it. It eventually turns into a need, like you need food or you need oxygen. So I think that's the best way to summarize it, when it goes from a need, wanting it to needing it.
Would you say you were a mean drunk or a happy drunk?
I bet you my wife would like to answer that question, but she's at a fundraiser right now. So um, I'll let her answer that next time we talk. Actually, I was more of a funny drunk. Out in public with friends. I wasn't necessarily the angry drunk. Certainly at home, when there were disagreements and fights with children or with my wife, those certainly got, those turned into anger, and there's a reason for that. So even if you're a happy drunk, when you have a real argument or disagreement, or there's a real underlying stress, alcoholics really don't learn coping skills. So while, you, Kathy, might be in an argument with somebody Friday night, and you might know how to deal with stress and anxiety, or relax yourself with some, variety of tools. Alcoholics really only have one tool, a coping skill, and it's alcohol. So when there is an underlying real, stressful situation that comes up in marriage, it just gets blown out of proportion because you don't know how to deal with it. So,
Can I ask, and this may seem really odd, and I don't know if you can actually answer it or not, and I don't want to put you online, but I just had this thought. Because of the world that I delve in, I do curse removal. I know there's many different entities on many levels, and it's my belief that when you drink enough or you do enough bad drugs, you lower your energy level to the point where you can become kind of what I call possessed. So you see that, man who's normally a really nice, cool guy, and then they drink and drink, and all of a sudden they're like a mean drunk, and it's not them.
that happens all the time, and the same with drugs. And it's not only the how they act actually during they're drunk or using drugs that you could compare to the a different person or lower energy or the devil or whatever, however people want to make that analogy. It's when their actions that they're taking, to get to drugs or alcohol. They're straight A students right now. There's straight A students right now throughout the country that are turning to crime and prostitution to support their heroin habit, and that's someone in a perfect childhood, happy mom and dad, that church going, very high energy spiritual person that right now, because of the pills which turn into the heroin and the desperation to get it, they're out prostituting themselves, robbing and killing people. So I don't think that was a weird question. I think it's something evil certainly takes the place of the kindness that was in most of these people.
Well, what I want to know, when you went through your bout, which is why you wrote the book, did you ever feel yourself becoming that different person, or feel like there was somebody else, some other energy in you?
Oh, every morning I had that I had that intellectual analogy or argument in my head. Every morning I would say, well, there's a really weird person at night that turned one drink into 13 drinks. I don't know why he's doing that. So the morning person has to beat the evening person. So that's how I described it to myself. And I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I once I started drinking, it was, whether or not it was a different person, my mind worked a different way. It was a one-track mindset to continue drinking, and then when I woke up in the morning sober, I wondered who that person was. You see a lot of times that alcoholics or addicts will say they have a hard time looking in the mirror during their disease, and I think that's one of the reasons, because when they're looking at 11 p.m. at night and they're drunk, it's a lot different face that they're seeing that's looking back at them than at 10 a.m.
Wow. Now, you come from a family in which addiction is pretty prevalent, but in what ways, emotionally and psychologically, do you feel that living in a family of functioning addicts plays into becoming an addict?
Yeah, and there's some science to back up your presumption there. There's definitely a link. Science has shown that about 50% of alcoholism is caused by genetics and 50% is caused by your environment. And to answer your question specifically, I think one huge problem that active alcoholics and addicts have, whether they're functioning or not, but really with functioning, is you don't have any coping skills. You don't know how to deal with emotions. I experienced that myself. So whether I had a day of normal stress, kids are sick or something stressful at work, or to even joy and happiness. I got a promotion. It was a great thing at work, or my kids had a great event at school. Alcoholics and drug addicts really cope with all of those emotions in one manner, and that's the drink or the drug. So the children don't really learn by watching and monitoring and mirroring that behavior, they really don't learn coping skills themselves. And I certainly saw that in myself and my family. Thankfully, my wife is what we call a normie, so she always had a much different ability to at least try to face normal stresses of life.
Well, they say that, whenever you get on drugs, you always have to bottom out. And there's that tipping point that all of a sudden you wake up and you go, oh my God, I've got to change. What was that for you?
For me, it was something that was fairly uncommon. It was as I described in my book, it was something my daughter said. I took my daughter to what I thought was a great daddy-daughter event, because even during my alcoholism, I would always pride myself on being a great dad. So I took her to an American Idol concert for David Archuleta. If any of your listeners remember him. So we went to the concert. I thought we had a great time. I was really excited. I got front row seats, I think. And when we returned home, my wife asked my daughter, how was the concert? And her only comment was, Daddy had too much to drink. And when my wife told me that, although as any good alcoholic would, I denied it to my wife and made excuses, it really sort of struck me in the heart. And a few days later, I was put myself in a position where I had to ask for help. So that was my bottom. There's a lot of people, we can talk about bottoms the entire hour. There's a lot of people that never have a bottom, no matter how painful the disease or the consequences, or if they lose their wife, their kids, their house, their job, their sanity, they still don't stop. So what causes an addict or an alcoholic to want to get that help, whether it's a bottom, a high bottom, or a low bottom, as we call it, no one knows, and unfortunately, it's not the same for everybody.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Now, you wrote this book with your daughter, and you wrote some stuff, and then she would write some stuff. And I have to say that when I'm going through this, and I saw it with hers, there's a devotional message where she takes out of the Bible. And I have to tell you, I am not a Bible reader. I was raised Catholic, and Catholics don't read Bibles, right? So I know enough to hold my own with somebody who's a fanatical Christian. But other than that, so I'm thinking, oh my God, all right, I got Bible verses. I can't interpret this stuff. So let me just give you a little hint of what your daughter writes, and it starts devotional message. Also, it is not good for a person to be without knowledge, and he who makes haste with his feet errs. Proverbs 19:2. See, I can't even tell you what the proverb is, right? Or say it right. And then she interprets it. And this is her interpretation. God meant for humans to learn from their mistakes and to make good choices, but we aren't perfect. I know it's hard to always make the right decisions, but this is a choice you must make. You can stay away from drugs, or you can choose addiction. You can always look to God for guidance when it comes time to make a choice. And, as I'm reading the book and reading these little tidbits of Leanna, I'm just going, oh my God, this is so profound. And how old was she when she wrote this, Mark?
I was corrected after a recent interview. She was between 11 and 13 when she wrote all this. And she did what you just mentioned, the Proverbs and the interpretation. That was all on her own. I, like you, wasn't raised very religious. She has gone to Catholic school, but I didn't tell her to put the Proverbs in there. She thought it could help people, and she thought it applied to the situations and the chapters that we were writing. So I agree with you. It's a 11 to 13-year-old writing that was,
I'm sorry, but
insight.
she's like a 90-year-old wise woman, not 11-year-old. It just blew me away.
Yeah,
I mean, you all have got to get this book because, if you know of somebody who's having a problem with alcohol and drugs, or, or the kids are going through this, give him the book or shove the book in the guy's hands, or, and he may not read it quite right away, but there might be like the tipping point where he picks it up, or just the title, My Dad is an Alcoholic. What about me? may be something that just hits right to the heart and might change. And it definitely will help the family that's going through it.
Yeah, and I think I don't think there are a lot of families out there that need help, and if this book can help, which I think it can, and most people that read it think it can, then we hope it gets in their hands, whether it's a niece or nephew of yours, or there's an adult with a problem. I've had almost just as many adults be given copies of this book than children, because a wife or a husband who has a spouse that they think has a drinking problem, it's hard to have that discussion. In fact, I wrote for a very famous blog the other day. What are some tips to figure out if your spouse has an alcohol problem? And if you figure that out, taking the next step and actually confronting them or talking to them about it is near impossible. And happy to say this book has helped some families and some spouses with that conversation.
Well, I can actually see the book in the school system. Like when we were growing up, we had sewing classes and baking classes. And this is something almost every family is going through one way or the other. I always call this Earth the planet of addictions. You either are there, you're going to be there, or it's coming your way, or you're in denial.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, one of the goals of this book, and it's for your listeners, we set it up as a nonprofit, so it's to help people, not to buy our next automobile. But one of the goals is to try to get it into schools. And, what do they call the birds and the bees class now in school? Family life, I think they call it. We've had discussions with several teachers and administrators, and more each week, and they're agreeing with that statement. And I think the reality is parents today probably have to worry more about drugs and alcohol than they do about, pregnancy and STDs. If you just look at the frequency of drug and alcohol abuse in teenagers and people in their 20s versus unwanted pregnancies, I think we've taken. I think that message has gotten across.
You've not been to Hawaii. So, but yeah, it is a problem, and it's something that many families deal with. And here, meth is a big problem, and it really crushes a lot of families.
Yeah, I've seen meth firsthand with a lot of my family members, and it's a terrible. Not that all of these drugs are not terrible. Alcohol itself can be terrible if it's used, but meth is, just from the ingredients. I'm sure Cathy's seen the list of ingredients. There's, drain cleaner. And one thing I've noticed with meth that I've blogged about in the past that makes it really difficult is that it basically sucks the endorphins out of your brain to the point where when you actually get sober, the normal brain function of recognizing joy and pleasure is diminished. It's the endorphins that release were sort of sucked out by the meth. So when someone gets sober off of meth, if they try to do it on their own without help, they really sort of go into a state of depression, or they're not able to feel joy. That's why meth is a very dangerous drug to start, and if you're trying to get off of it, seeking professional help and therapy and rehab is really a good way to do it. Otherwise, on their own, it's one of the most difficult drugs to kick because of that.
Well, what did you do to kick your alcohol, or to shift it?
I realized, thankfully, that I tried for 10 years to stop on my own. So there was a point where I realized, even though I couldn't stop, I realized I didn't have a chance of stopping on my own. So when I actually took that step of asking for help, I did what I saw on TV, watching the show's Intervention, watching Dr. Drew talk. I went to a rehab. I went to a 30-day rehab, in-house, spending the night, no alcohol, no significant distractions, focused on myself for 30 days, and then following that point, I did exactly what my counselors and doctors recommended, which was, continuing some counseling with the alcohol specialist, and going to AA was what was recommended to me. So I sort of submitted myself, got on my knees and said, "Experts, please help me," and that worked for me. And I find that works. That's what makes up the most successful ingredients to getting sober, is listening to others.
You got a little saying in here that I like. Today I did not sleep through my children's lives. Today I was not hungover. Today I was not an absent father. Today I was at peace. Today was a good day.
I think about that passage every morning when I'm not traveling, when I drive my daughter to school, and it's about a half an hour drive, and I know a lot of parents dread that, but for the first 10 years of her life, and I guess the first 5 years of her school, I slept in the morning. I was drunk the night before. My wife fed him, dressed him, and took him to school. So as that passage said, I realized what I was missing out on. So I'm enjoying the drive to high school, and certainly better than what mornings used to be.
Well, what do we do about this addiction, Gene? And you wrote, it's called an analogy, which I thought was really, really cool. And it's called peanuts versus potatoes. Would you explain that?
Yeah, we tried to make a character or make the story or the information relatable to younger children. And I have young children, and one thing they all understand is that there are friends in their classroom or on their baseball team or soccer team that are allergic to peanuts. I'm sure everybody listening knows a child that's allergic to peanuts. And that child has to be treated differently. The child has to understand they're allergic to peanuts. They can't have peanuts at a baseball celebration party. Everybody knows that. And it's not something they're ashamed of. So we thought, well, a child with alcoholism in their genes or addiction in their genes is really allergic to alcohol. That's sort of how the brain reacts. They're sort of allergic to it, and it's a dangerous allergy, if you look at it that way. So we picked the potato. It's fairly famous and well known for making vodka. So we made a little character called the potato to represent a potato allergy. So the underlying fun theme through the book that we joke with in the book is, why doesn't the potato allergy, or Mr. Potato, why doesn't he get the respect of the peanut? So a kid, a 12-year-old that's allergic to alcohol, he doesn't get any respect today. His teachers don't talk about it. People don't prepare food at parties differently, whereas his buddy with the peanut allergy, everybody knows. Even the stewardess or the flight attendant on the airplane knows. They'll announce, well, there's a peanut allergy, we're not serving any peanuts. Well, how about the 15-year-old or the 21-year-old or me sitting on an airplane that's allergic to alcohol? I don't hear anybody saying, well, we have a potential 13-year-old alcoholic and a recovering 45-year-old alcoholic on the plane. We're not going to serve alcohol in this row. So it's trying to make it relatable to all and something that kids can embrace.
But that is such it just makes sense. You just want to go, duh, why don't we have done this before?
Well, I certainly think about, I fly a lot for my my main job, and I certainly think about it. Fortunately, I'm in a place where alcohol isn't tempting, but I'm flying to Sacramento tomorrow night, and I'm sure there'll be people on the plane with alcohol, and one could argue that there shouldn't be alcohol next to someone with an alcohol allergy. Whereas if there's a peanut allergy on the plane, I think you put that online when you book your ticket, and nobody gets peanuts on the whole plane. So we're hoping it's an analogy and it's a story and it's a way of looking at it for kids and their families that can catch on.
Well, I can see the airplanes now having a section non-alcohol and alcohol.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I had not thought about that. That would, people might laugh at that, but if we said the same thing 30 years ago about smoking, or 40 years ago, an airplane was one giant, smoke-filled cigarette, and then there was smoking and non-smoking, and now you can't even smoke on an airplane. So you're right. There probably should be. people that have an allergy, current or former, or they're trying to prevent it in the future to alcohol, you don't really need to be surrounded by it. I like that idea.
What a new consciousness.
I will. If I run into the CEO of Southwest Airlines tomorrow, I'll give him that idea. But no, seriously, it's there's something to be said for that.
Go for it. Yeah,
You
the
see that?
next time I get on a plane and there's, alcoholics, I mean, not alcoholics, people are drinking alcohol on this side and the non-drinkers on the other side. It's my fault.
Your idea came to fruition. I know they actually have that. They don't necessarily have it directly for this reason, but you see most stadiums now for sporting events, they will have what they call the family section, where there's no alcohol in that section. It's not as
Well,
strict
there
as
you
we're
go.
talking about, but it is along those lines where children don't need to be surrounded by alcohol for a variety of reasons, including those fans get really obnoxious. But there's alcohol-free zones. There's alcohol-free colleges.
Wow. Well, I wouldn't mind being in an alcohol-free plane, actually. I wouldn't mind it at all. And no, I'm not a drinker. Okay, so, but still, I wouldn't mind.
It's a fair comment. There are, there's cigarette and alcohol-free casinos now. So
That's true. There's restaurants that don't let you smoke. Yeah.
yes, smoking is smoking seems about 30 years in advance or in front of how we should be treating alcohol. But there's
But
certainly people
talking
that can
about
drink
it like
normally.
this, talking about it, it's putting it out there and giving a lot of people a different perspective. And you don't know how quick things can happen.
I agree. There's, part of my frustration in researching this book is just how little focus there is on prevention, especially if you have it in your genes, and even if you don't, on prevention versus treatment. You can turn on, any 60 Minutes or any blog and see the thousands of great treatment centers, and there's plenty of treatment out there. It's very very hard to get sober once you start, but there's not a lot of focus on the kids. The only big movement on that was God rest her soul, Nancy and Ronald Reagan tried the Say No to Drugs campaign, but most people on both sides of the aisle and the addiction specialists sort of agree it wasn't very successful. And one of the reasons was because they didn't talk about it like we're talking about it. They didn't give the children tools or other things to do. It was just no, say no. We're in another authority figure telling you no. So yeah, maybe discussions like this will start a new trend where we focus on the kids before it's too late.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And, again, it's focusing and helping people cope with, something that's real, that's out there.
Oh, I'm blown away almost every day how much is out there, whether it's getting comments on the book or some blog I wrote, or even just in my work travels where I'll sit with a new client or talk to a coworker and just it's like 75% of people I talk to have an immediate or one removed family member that's in the middle of this disease.
Mm-hmm. So where can people get the book?
You can go to Amazon, or you can go to barnesandnoble.com, or you can go to our website, which has those links on there as well, which is potatoallergy.com, just as it sounds, potatoallergy.com. You can order the book there. You can get a free wristband, which is a cute little blue rubber wristband with a potato for the kids, like their friends would wear for a peanut allergy, and those are free. You can sign up for the newsletter. You can sign up for the social media, the Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we even have a place where kids can submit questions for my daughter and son, if they or others in their peer groups, if they have questions about dealing with peer pressure or questions about anything about the subject, and adults can submit questions as well. So that's potatoallergy.com.
Where could we actually get more information about genetic addiction and steps to recovery?
That's it. I think we have it all on potatoallergy.com. We have a resources page, So it's not just our book. We have links to other helpful websites and tools and books and forums. And we're trying to make it a one-stop shop and more of a movement than a book. Although the book is leading the movement, we're trying to make it a movement to change the way our society and our country talks about alcoholism and addiction to adults and especially kids.
It's a great book. You did a great job. How
Thank you,
was that?
Cathy.
And
Thank
I
you.
really think you're going to be very successful. And I do see changes because, again, you are giving everybody a different perspective on alcoholism and other possibilities other than, oh my God, I must be a bad person. Look what I'm doing.
Yeah, there's just like the analogy we just talked about with smoking. How the perspective on smoking has changed so much in the last 30 years. There needs to be a change in the discussion, how people look at it. It's not something to be ashamed of. And thanks for the kind words. And I hope you're right. I hope we talk in a few years and we're talking about the second phase of the movement, because the first phase had been so successful and helped so many families.
Oh, it's going to. You're addressing, like I said, something that's really hard to talk about and doing it in a way where everybody can understand. And they always say that the attention getter is the title. And I mean, my God, my dad is an alcoholic. What about me? That says it all.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful title, and happy to be the dad and to put our story out there, because it's something that needs to be fixed. It's too many families, including mine, have let their children grow up without discussing it, even though it's the biggest elephant in the room. And there's aunts and uncles and sisters and brothers that are alcoholics and addicts and grandfathers. It's the biggest elephant in the family room. Nobody talks about it in most families.
Oh my God, we didn't. It's like, oh yeah, dad drinks, and he was a good drunk. He was a nice drunk, I have to say, but he could down those highballs in the morning after work.
Yeah, a lot of families are like that, where it's and it's not their fault. My parents are still alive and they're very caring people. No one taught them how to talk to their kids about the what might have been, what was in our DNA and what we needed to look out for. No one talked about it.
Yeah, they didn't talk about a lot when we were growing up. They didn't talk about psychic abilities, none of this stuff. It's just not, their awareness was totally different.
Yeah, I think if you
And
look,
you got to
you're
go
right.
through something to experience it, to understand it. And you took a negative and really changed it into a very big positive, and you pulled the whole family into it. And for that, I honor you.
Well, thank you very much. Those are very kind words, and you had a lot of very good ideas and ways to look at it. I hope we can incorporate a lot of that into the movement.
Oh, my pleasure. Spirit talks. So, can I ask, how long have you been sober?
Over 7 years now. One day at a time, as cliche as that might sound to those people that are not in the program, that's really the best way to look at it. So I'm not going to drink tonight. I know that. So we'll add one more day to the 7.5 years that I have.
Oh, congratulations. And do you still have to go to what, AA meetings?
Yeah. I want to, because I've learned from too many other people that stop going, that they're sudden, over a course of weeks or months or years, their brain tells them, "See, you didn't need those people. You don't really have a problem. Why don't you just go back to drinking one glass of wine with dinner?" So they'll try the one glass of wine, and then that'll be fine. And then the next Friday, their little disease will tell them, you had one glass. 2 glasses will be fine, or 3 glasses will be fine. Normal people have 3. And the next thing you know, you're back in it. So it's the analogy they say in the program is that your disease is outside doing push-ups, waiting for you to call it into the game. So those that have stayed sober for their entire lives have continued to go to AA, talk about their disease, help others. So the part of this book is selfish because helping others and talking about it is one of the key ways to stay sober. So that's a benefit I get from this book as well.
Well, you're doing service. They're telling you to stop, at least my interpretation, tell me if I'm wrong, to stop, you get into yourself. Yes, you have to change yourself, but you're doing service because you're thinking and helping somebody else and taking your learned knowledge and sharing it. So those people may not have to go through that same thing. Or if
Yeah,
they do, they're going to go, "Oh, I heard that somewhere."
yeah.
Okay.
You nailed it. Service, at least in the AA doctrine and in most, something ANA or AA doctrines and teachings, most of them say that service and helping others is one of the most important steps you can take after you really analyze yourself. So getting out of your own head, because we all can get in our own head. I can get into my own head in 3 minutes. So getting out of your own head and helping others is the service part is it's one of the 12 steps. So obviously the founders thought it was at least important to be one of the core 12.
That's why you have sponsors.
I do. He tells me what to do, which is a great thing because you know making your own decisions about a lot of things. Sort of, it led you to, at least me, it led me to 15 years of drinking. So,
Are, are
you
you
know,
a sponsor yourself?
I am. I have a sponsor, and I have a sponsee, and we usually talk every day and just sort of pass along the message and help the other person make decisions. Because it's human nature when you get emotional and you try to make emotional decisions, they're usually bad. So especially someone that has an alcohol problem or a drug problem, it usually ends up
Well,
drinking.
we done talked ourselves out of time, Mark. Thank you so much. And the book is called My Dad is an Alcoholic. What about me? Right back. Welcome back, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, The Quantum Leap, Let Light Unite on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And this is October 18th, 2016, the second hour. And, Revolution Radio is all listener sponsored, so we really appreciate all the donations that you send in. None of us gets paid for doing this, and we all volunteer our time. And, if you want to keep the station going and getting all this awesome information from everybody on the radio station, then please go to their website and press their donation button. And then actually get your credit card out and, do something. Or you can even send a check, money order. We're not proud. Even cash by mail, they'll take it. But, what goes around comes around. And again, it's through your generosity that we are still on the air. And thank you. If you want to know more about me, you can go to my website at www.angelliteom.com, ANGELITEOM.com. I have all my healing products there, and it's really great Christmas presents, guys. Give the gift of pain and stress release with my Angel Light tools that glow in the dark so you never lose them. And they're all on the website. And I also have a couple books there, and one you can download for free. They're a book on spiritual basics. It's just helping you remember what you've forgotten. I also have the curse removal, energy balancing there that you can download for free. And it's what I call the maintenance program. And you can do it over and over, clear yourself out, clear the family out. I also have it on YouTube. Now, I have 2 YouTube channels. One's under Cathy Bilsky, The Quantum Leap, and then one's under Revolution Radio, The Quantum Leap, with Cathy Bilsky. And become a subscriber. I need peeps on that page. So all the new shows go on the Revolution Radio YouTube channel. And I do have a lot of good stuff on my Cathy Bilsky channel. I'm also on Facebook. And where else? I have a couple pages on Facebook under Cathy Bilsky and one under Catherine Bilsky. And both of them, I put all the power prayers that we do. So you can keep up with that and give it energy, and we can quantum leap the world into enlightenment. And of course, we have the Enlightenment website up. It's Enlightenment Movement 2016 at shutterfly.com. Join. And again, you can see everything that we're doing and where we need to give extra energy, the days, so you can counter darkness, and the power prayers also go up there. Yeah, we need you. It's really important. The energy that you put out can help us really, really get that tipping point. So we're far into the divine age of enlightenment. And remember, October 31st, we're having another energy day, and all you got to do is chant as much as you can that day. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. May divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. While we are waiting for James Grippando to call in, I just want to share this with you. I live in Hawaii, and I'm really, really blessed. I've got 4 avocado trees that, a family of 4 are sharing, and they're still, they drop a dozen extra for whatever. So avocados are so good for you. And for those of you that are aging and you're getting that saggy skin kind of thing because you did the sun too much, go get avocado oil. It just brings your skin back to life, and it helps get rid of some of the wrinkles. And, you can smash up an avocado. And if I can really share with you some of my experiences, you may want to actually put it in a blender, because I smashed mine up. And, you put a little olive oil in it. But boy, kind of, when you smash it up, it's a little chunky. And you're going to walk around and drop avocado all over. And then you go back and read it, and he goes, you blend it in the blender. Got it. Make it really smooth, like a paste. And you put that in your hair. Oh my God. Your hair will get thicker. It'll start growing again. It nurtures it. And, add that with the angelite, which is a stone out of South America. And I've had angelite get rid of burns and bruises overnight and heal cancers and tumors. And if you put a piece of it in water, it's a mineral, and it'll slowly dissolve. You drink the water, your bones will get stronger. Your hair will actually get thicker and grow. And I'm 63 and my hair's still growing and looks really thick. And you really, really want extra thick hair? I guess this is a hair night. Okay. Start taking Knox. Have you ever heard of Knox gelatin? Knox. Well, I mix it and make it up with juice. And then you also eat it. Your nails get really, really strong. And it also works on your hair. And you're going to find your hair getting thicker. And as I'm doing this, all I can think of is I am so lucky to be my age, which is 63. And to be able to remember all the really cool stuff that works, the natural remedies that my mom and grandma used to use. And it still works today. But how many people tell you got problems with your nails? Take Knox gelatin. They'll get really hard. They'll grow. You won't have to get your nails done and have anything fake put on them, because they're going to look good just naturally. And try the avocado, because that's awesome, not only to eat, and it's supposed to kind of reverse your age and help you look younger. And honest to God, at my age, I'm doing it all. When I've had 2 people in 2 days in a row, all young people in a couple groups, when I tell them my age, and they look really shocked. And you can see it in their eyes. They get really big and wide, and they go, my God, you look 40. I know I'm having a good day. And everything I'm doing is working. But I am high maintenance. But I'm so worth it. Anyway, those are a few little tips. And if you want hair, or you want your hair to grow or get thicker because you're maybe losing it because of radiation that we're breathing, try that stuff. It's incredible. All right, we are waiting for Jim Grippando to come on. And this man is a New York Times best-selling author, and he knows his research. He's written many, many books. And I have to tell you, I'm reading this book, and it is really hard to put down. It's called The Penny Jumper. Now, in the case of Jim Grippando in this story, the research raises a lot of questions about corporate conspiracy, computer control, and ineffective or involved law enforcement that would likely get you sued in the 22nd century if told as a nonfiction. And James Grippando is a New York Times best-selling author of 24 books, including several bestsellers inspired by recent Wall Street scandals. James lives, works, and writes near Miami, Florida, a long diagonal on the map, but a keystroke by a computer. And his latest release, The Penny Jumper, is set in the complex financial world of high-frequency trading. And it's the kind of action that makes you nervous. And it really, you don't want to put the book down. Now, Mr. Grippando's law firm represented Goldman Sachs in connection with the federal government's high-profile prosecution of a former computer programmer accused of stealing confidential source code for the company's high-speed trading system. The story, the research raises a lot of questions about corporate conspiracy, computer control, and again, and ineffective or involved law enforcement. It's an incredible book, and as I'm reading this, I can actually see things happening in the world of Wall Street. And in James' book, he just gets right into it. A lot of people have to, bring in this big opening and really go into discussion about the people and, God, go on for chapters and chapters. Well, it starts with here's the introduction on the story, and boom, you are in it. Oh gosh, my clock is again running slow. So while we are waiting for James to come on, because I got all kinds of questions for him, let's do a little bit more energy work, if you wouldn't mind, and again, take advantage of this little gap we have. So let's do the energy work about removing the dark energy overlays over the earth and all life forms. So again, feel yourself reconnect to the Creator, form another bubble of light. And in the name of the presence of God, which I am through the magnetic power, the sacred fire vested in me, I command and send this bubble lots of energy. I call to Michael the Archangel, Ganesha, the remover of obstacles, all the cosmic beings, and the Creator to cut all ties to all artificial plasma in the atmosphere that was reptilian created. As we cut the ties to their masters, we call the violet flame through all the cells, atoms, molecules, DNA of this plasma to clean it up. Now we reconnect it all to the Creator, filling it all up with divine love. We command it to be neutral and no longer function. See the plasma breaking up and neutralizing itself. Let it not be able to form any square or ring frequency patterns. We place a mirror in front of the scalar and plasma weapons to return all signals and frequencies back to the reptilian stations. As this is done, we see all the equipment imploding on itself. Let all computers connected with any scalar frequency machines being used, overloading with this energy that was sent back, causing the machines to also implode. I call the debris in outer space from meteors, rockets, satellites to start to magnetize to all satellites that are not being used for the highest good of all mankind and interfere with their orbit cycles. I call to Helios and Vista to reach out and embrace these satellites with so much divine electromagnetic energy that it will interfere with signals that are not being used with divine purpose. I give the angels permission to interfere and divinely distort any signals coming from satellites. We cut ties to all fifth dimensional energy frequency events around the earth that is creating a dark energy overlay over the earth to control and harness human consciousness. We cut ties to all machines that are affecting us in the 3D world through frequencies, vibration, and sound that is directed at the electromagnetic fields to create negativity and chaos. We cancel clear all frequencies that are suppressing light, giving humans an oppressive feeling. We also cut the ties to military buoys connected to the reptilian stations and their dark masters. We command that all these buoys be contained in a circle of cement with lead overlay to jam all frequencies, placing all these buoys in a position of harmlessness. We command that frequencies connected to the Merkaba orthogonal transformers to break down and collapse, dissolving the frequency fence that creates a self-perpetuating loop of negativity. We now send a golden solar energy through these frequencies that shift the grid so people feel positive, happy, and see their life's missions and purpose. We now command the breakdown and deactivation of all scalar plasma weapons that are coming from low Earth orbit satellites that are targeting the most awakened light warriors on the planet. We also see the plasma top bombs that are protecting these satellites, breaking down, becoming non-functional. Let's send a golden solar energy through the Earth's morphogenetic grid that neutralizes any dark energy that wants to control the grid. I call divine light, divine balance, divine male-female balance to all the grids, ley lines, meridians, domes, obelisks, pyramids, and all the sacred spots on the planet. I call the Michael's sword of blue flame to cut all ties to all satanic, negative ceremonies that have been done, past, present, and future on these areas. See it blaze with the violet flame to transmute these power spots to divine light. Envision these areas blazing in God's divine radiant light, sending positive, enlightened energy through the earth in all sacred spots, radiating joy and happiness to the earth and all her inhabitants. As these reptilian facilities break down, we see everyone reconnect to the Creator, becoming awakened, spiritual, divine, happy beings. They are also given their divine missions and purposes as they open to new possibilities that will help them go beyond their divine potential. Nevertheless, not our will, but thy will be done. So be it. And take a deep breath and release it. Woo! Thank you all for helping me and giving that energy. Oh, I hope I didn't get the times wrong with James. That would really be a bummer. I
That's
have
what I
to
was
say.
just going to ask you. Do you think that there's a time mix up?
Oh, my dear, there can always be a time mix-up, huh?
This is true when you're working with so many different time zones.
Oh, I know. Even when you get it correct with the publicist, you still can get it wrong. So let's see. And of course, I didn't quite write his number down here, so I could just easily pull it up. I am just so brilliant. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Yes, I do. There we go. That's not what I want there. Okay. And maybe we can call him. That would be nice if we have to. Ooh.
Maybe he thinks it's 20. Oh, it is 20 after.
Uh-huh. Yeah, these late people. What are we going to do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they call you late? Okay, let's see. Okay. Uh-huh. I got 2 numbers for him. Shall we try it?
We can see what happens.
Oh, what the hey. It's either that or I got to ad lib for another half hour. And I could. I'm good at that, don't y'all
Yes,
think?
you are very good at that.
Oh,
You are always entertaining.
stroke me some more.
Okay, baby, let me give you another stroke here. Now, Kathy, it's
if
not that
if
kind of show tonight.
if that didn't wake anybody up, I don't know what did, right? The guys are going,
Okay.
ooh.
All right, let
It's
me see what I can do here without losing you.
it's better than me going doo 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 doo. Oh God, you got both. I'm getting better at that, don't you think?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Da, da, da. Let me
And
see.
everybody's going, oh, please answer the phone. Please answer the phone, Jim.
Okay, hang on just a second because I switched over and I forgot to write the number down and it didn't come with me.
It's that kind of night, isn't it?
There's so many things still that I guess at. It's just on Skype. It's just crazy.
And you get most of them right. So, brag, woman, brag.
That's just crazy luck right there. All right, here we go.
And no, I'm not going to sing the Jeopardy tune again. Okay, we're good. Well, again, we're doing the Enlightenment movement, another energy shift on Halloween on the 31st. And please, y'all, join in. Yeah, you can still do the little crazy costumes, but join
Okay,
in.
here we go.
Okay. Yeah, we're really hearing a lot on that one.
Oh, if you call this number, your current call will be put on hold. Let's see what happens with. Okay, all right. It's dialing.
All right.
The person you have dialed can't take your call now. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, simply hang up or press the pound key for further options.
Do you want to record a message or just hang up?
Oh, James Grippando, this is Cathy Bilsky. You're supposed to be on my show tonight. I think we screwed up the times. All right. Aloha. We'll do it again. Okay, now we can hang up.
Okay, you want me to try the other number?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Live radio, you never know what's going to happen.
And it always happens like this on my show. What can I say? Isn't
Well,
this the
since you're the only show I produce, I don't know about that, but I hear it happen on other ones. So it's not
Oh,
it's not
good.
just your show.
Then I'm not that special. And my God, isn't there the time change, November? Oh yeah, looking forward to that one.
It's right around Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the second number.
Is it door number 2?
Hello.
Hi, James Grippando. This is Cathy Bilsky.
Hi,
You're
how are you?
really good. This is my radio show, The Quantum Leap. I didn't wake you,
Oh,
did I?
I was just getting ready for bed. Yeah, so I'm on the East Coast. It's 11:30 here. So, yeah, I guess I didn't know about this one. So, tell me more about it. Okay.
Surprise!
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
well, we're going to talk about your book, The Penny Jumper.
Okay. And how long do you want to go?
We have 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Hold. If you could call me on my landline. Did you just call on the landline a minute ago?
I think we tried both. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, try the other one because this one's in the cell, and sometimes it fades in and out inside my house. So if you can try dial the other number, if I could find the phone. I'm walking around in the dark here. Hold on one second.
This is totally unscripted, folks.
Okay. Okay.
So, Liz, we can call the other number, right?
But he's being extremely polite about being disturbed as he's going to bed.
Hold on. What did I do with the phone?
Okay, I'll hang
Okay.
up now and try the other one.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Do, 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 do.
I'm a slow dialer.
Breathe, everybody. Just breathe deeply. Kind of Halloween, so I can go.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Saved me.
Yep. Okay. Hi.
Hi, James. Again,
Hey.
thank you. This is
Yeah,
the
this is better.
Quantum Leap. And I have to say, I love your book, The Penny
Thank you.
Jumper. I am
Thank you.
blown away, actually. And can you describe everybody really quick what your book's about?
Penny Jumper started out as an exploration of what's happening right now on Wall Street. And it came to my attention because I read this article, and my law firm was involved in the case, actually. And I read a detailed article in the Wall Street Journal about the case involving the theft of secret code from Goldman Sachs, which sounds kind of like cloak and dagger in some ways. But what it involves really is that there are now 2,000 physicists working on Wall Street, which was enough to grab my interest right from the start, right? So why are there 2,000 physicists working on Wall Street? Well, the answer is that 70% of the trading that goes on in stock markets today is not even done by human beings. It's done by computers and computer algorithms in this sort of secret world that is drawing some of the brightest minds in the country to work for Wall Street firms who will then create the code.
Okay, what's an algorithm?
Yeah, an algorithm is, in its simplest sense, you probably would, if you had a computer scientist and a physicist and a mathematician in a room, they probably wouldn't agree on what it is. But basically, if you're just someone like me and your listeners who's trying to understand how algorithms might affect everything from trading on Wall Street to the operation of elevators in an office building, an algorithm is simply a set of steps laying out a sequence of events that have to happen in order for a certain task to be accomplished. So, for example, you can have an algorithm that will give you directions when everybody now uses their GPS, right? So an algorithm will give you directions, or an algorithm is involved in telling a computer how to make recommendations to you. You know, when you are purchasing products online, I think we all kind of understand.
It's like a computer program.
Well, it's not exactly a program. A program, and there's a sort of a high level disagreement as to whether a computer program which can operate infinitely is an algorithm, because an algorithm technically is supposed to have a beginning and an end. So that's actually a profound question that you just asked, because in some ways the algorithms, when they get out of control and they have no beginning and end, is when problems start. So these algorithms on Wall Street that tell computers how to make trades, for example, in 2010, it created this horrible thing called the flash crash, because the algorithms got caught in this loop, and the trading went on and on and on. And in about a span of about 15 minutes, $9 trillion in wealth evaporated up in smoke, to basically. So that's sort of the dire consequences that can result from this. So as a novelist, and I'm writing a story, The Penny Jumper, about a young astrophysicist who goes onto Wall Street to pay off her mountain of college debt by writing these programs, codes, algorithms, whatever you want to call them, for Wall Street firms in their battle to be the most effective high-speed traders on Wall Street. She gets caught up in this world of competition, greed, deception, and is left holding the bag for someone else's theft of this code, and that's the mystery that must be unraveled.
I love your book. You explain so much, okay? And I know you're speaking truth, even though you put it into this nonfiction book. And then you talk about penny jumpers. You want to explain that?
Yeah, it's kind of, the title of the book is, some people think, is that her name, Penny Jumper? No, it's penny jumping actually is one of these algorithms on Wall Street. And the easiest way to explain it, I think, is basically, there are people trying to disguise and hide what they're doing on Wall Street, which has always been the case before there were computers. No one wants to tip their hand, right, about the fact that they're interested in buying a huge block of stock or interested in selling a huge block of stock. And on the other side of the competition are the people who are always digging for information and trying to find out, who's desperate to sell and who wants to buy and who will pay the highest price. So the same thing is playing out now in computer form in very high speed, where you have algorithms trying to disguise the fact that your pension fund might be selling 10,000 shares of GE stock, and on the other side, an algorithm trying to figure out the little pieces that are happening in the marketplace that would signal someone else's strategy that you can capitalize by having an algorithm that picks up these trading patterns that reveal someone else's objectives and strategies. So the way I think to make your listeners understand it is, I use this analogy. I took my son to his first game at Wrigley Field. I grew up in Chicago, so I was a Cub fan. So I took him to his first game at Wrigley Field. So imagine you're outside Wrigley Field, and you need 4 tickets to the game. So you got to buy them from scalpers, right? You go to your first scalper outside the stadium, and he only has 2 tickets to sell you. And you say, okay, fine, I'll take 2, but you know what? I need 2 more, and I'm willing to pay $100 a ticket, right? So some joker is standing behind you and hears you say you're willing to pay $100 a piece for 2 more tickets. So he immediately runs to the next corner, buys 2 tickets from another scalper, for $100 a piece, and then when you come along, he sells them to you for $100.01 a piece. And you're like, okay, well, no big deal. I'm 2 cents over budget, so no problem. So that eavesdropper, the guy who was listening to your conversation in which you said you're willing to spend $200 on 2 more tickets, he made 2 cents on that transaction. Well, that in my analogy here, that eavesdropper is an algorithm sneaking around through Wall Street's cyber world, picking up hints and indications about what other people are looking to buy or sell, and at what price they're willing to buy and sell. And they beat that person to it and then make this small profit, pennies at a time. Penny jumping is what it's called. So that, and this is all, why is this even profit? You might say, how does anybody make any money? Just tacking on like a 1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cent surcharge it's the front running is what the action is called, basically, is that you are getting out in front of somebody else who's trying to execute a trade. And the way it happens is it's all about speed, right? And speed and volume. And the best way to help you understand it is that this is happening millions and millions and millions of times over and over and over again, which is why all these pennies add up. Because to give you an idea how fast these algorithms are operating, and this is I think it helps to read it in the book to understand it, but to give you the nutshell of it, basically, is if you're sitting at your computer, you click your mouse, it takes you 500,000 microseconds to click your mouse. But if you are one of these high-speed trading firms on Wall Street, like the firm that my character Ainsley works for in The Penny Jumper, if your computer algorithm, that eavesdropper I described in the ticket analogy, if he's moving around slower than 5 microseconds when compared to somebody else's algorithm, he's a dead bang loser.
Well, you even talk, you even talk about in the book about businesses even moving closer so they can get that nanosecond jump.
Well, you really did read it. Good for you. That's awesome, because that's really so critically important, right? There's two components to it. One is, do you have a smart enough physicist to write the algorithm for you that can sort of outsmart the other guy's computer algorithms? But it's also the second part of the equation is what's called co-location, where all of these people sort of, once they all got their physicists from MIT and California Polytechnical Institute and so forth to lure them to Wall Street to write these algorithms, they realized, man, we're all pretty much equal here, right? We don't really have an advantage here anymore. Just only at some point, you get down below 5 microseconds. Like I said, it's 500,000 microseconds to click a mouse. And we're talking about, winners and losers defined by 5 microseconds. And so the game they upped the game, basically, by trying to get their servers, the computers that actually do the trading. And there are, rooms and rooms and rooms full of these computers. And in New York, for example, where they started to identify what's the best location for our servers to be to optimize the speed at which this algorithm will operate. And in New York, and this is one of the funnest scenes to write in the book, where they're standing outside the old Western Union building at 60 Hudson Street in Tribeca area of Manhattan. And I didn't pick that location just because I liked the look of that old Neapolitan-style building. It's because, in reality, today, the old Western Union building is where all the telegrams used to be sent from, and back in 60, 70, 80 years ago. Now, there's virtually no one in that building. There's no human beings except for security guards. It's all servers. And the reason there are all these computers and servers in there is because that building happens to be located almost on top of the exact place in Manhattan where the fiber optic cables come up from the ground and give the island of Manhattan internet service. So the closer you are to that exact point, the faster your algorithms will operate on these computers that are connected to the various exchanges, New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and so forth, so that you are the king of the mountain when it comes to high-frequency trading.
Okay, now I got a question because we don't have a lot of time. And now I live in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we are fighting having a super huge telescope placed on top of that mountain.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I'm reading what I've been sent, and I mean that's why I said this book is just gripping me, and I haven't finished it yet. Okay, I will by
Right.
Friday.
Right.
But it's I know you got a lot of good information. Sometimes I look at things like a shortcut. Now, how in the world does Wall Street and these 2,000 physicists, how are they connected to
Yeah.
telescopes?
Yeah. That was an interesting development in the research. And the short answer to that is that it's the issue of time synchronization. That's the scientific answer to that. Okay, is that basically if you are trying to coordinate the purchase and sale of stocks, buying it up on the New York Stock Exchange and then selling it on the Tokyo Stock Exchange in a matter of milliseconds, right? Is that the ability to do that depends on complete synchronization of time between along your network. Okay, so that you have to be operating within microseconds of accuracy between the two different places on the globe. It turns out that same sophisticated time synchronization technology is the key to these interconnected telescopes that are searching for cosmic company, places in outer space that may have life on them. And the way that works is that it's not so much, and Hawaii actually is one of the prime spots for that because of where it's located. But what makes those telescopes more powerful is that they are interconnected with other points on the globe, so that if you think about it think of it this way, think of that each little spot on a globe that has an optimal view of outer space. When I say view, I mean really, is it going to be receiving, it's not necessarily things you can see. It might be pulling in, cosmic rays that are, a different light spectrum. But the point is the same, is that all that information, rather than gathered in one point in Hawaii, if it's coordinated with an observatory in Chile and another one in Australia, and all of those are synchronized exactly right, each of those points on the globe is sort of like a pixel in a picture of outer space. And if it all meshes together, you get this wonderful picture. So the overlap between, there was actually a map done by MIT there's little blue dots all over the place, and Hawaii has a lot of blue dots on it, and those little blue dots indicate the optimal places for time synchronization for high-frequency trading. And some of them are like, for example, some of them are on oil rigs, in the Gulf of Mexico, or they might be, in some mountain in Nepal. So I thought to myself, you've got astrophysicists working on Wall Street. You've got this coordination of or similar technology at work between these observatories being built in Hawaii and Chile and Australia.
I have to say, I've not ever thought about them linking up like that.
No, I didn't either, which is one of the great things. Once you've written 25 novels, you reach a confidence level where you start the writing and you do the research and you feel that the story is going to come together, and without spoiling it for everybody.
And that would explain why they want to put a super huge one up on, and there's like 6 or 7 of them already, telescopes up there on our mountain. And they want to put such a big one. It's supposed to be 10 stories, and the water that would go through it alone just to keep their computers cold It's
Yep.
like 10,000 gallons a day.
Well, I
And I
actually
would
have a
step back and I have to say, and we're thinking, why in the world would they need all that water? Why would they need such huge computers?
right,
There
right.
you go.
Yeah, and it is a team effort. And, on the positive side, they actually, one of these coordinated efforts where I think it was 2 observatories in Chile and 1 in Australia working in sync, the way I described, discovered a planet. I think it's like 4 light years away that appears to be very similar to planet Earth. And that's what the focus of a lot of this research is on, is looking for planets in our vast galaxy, way, way beyond our
To
solar
screw
system.
up, after they've screwed up Earth and then they want to go somewhere else. Yeah, if they would just pick a planet,
Yeah,
we would even hold bake sales. We would give them a party. Just leave. You can
right,
have all the fluoridated water, all the GMO food you can eat.
right.
God, chemtrailed air, who you couldn't want for more, right?
Exactly, exactly. But I'm not a scientist by any stretch of the imagination, and I didn't write the book for scientists. I wrote it for people who are looking to be entertained and thought they might, they might want to learn a little bit something of it. Especially, out in Hawaii. Actually, the guy who inspired a big part of this story lived in Hawaii for years. And he's the one who created this. It's for school children. That my own daughter's interested in. It's called the Energy Ray Global Observatory, and kids all around the globe are collecting cosmic rays around and in this coordinated effort to try to interest kids in science. And Tom to this day, even though he went to MIT, and no matter how cold it got in Boston, still wore a Hawaiian shirt. So, and he makes a cameo appearance in The Penny Jumper.
Like I said, I love the book. And how can people get the book?
It's on Amazon.com or any of the online BarnesandNoble.com. It's called The Penny Jumper, and I'm James Grippando. It's my first novel really in this sort of area, but I've written a lot of legal thrillers, Grisham-style legal thrillers. They're all easy reads in that same vein.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I picked up the book and I thought, okay, what is this about? And I was explaining to everybody in the beginning, you do a little bit of intro and you don't bore me with like, oh my God, she's wearing this purple dress and she's got long hair and she's got blue eyes and she's got a subtle skin. You give this is a character and then boom, you're into the book.
Yeah, it's, pacing is something that I think is really important, especially now where we have so many things competing for our entertainment and our attention span. So
Can you get it on Kindle?
It is on, it's on Kindle, it's on Nook, it's also on Apple iBooks. So really it's
Definitely.
in every format. Yeah.
A good beach book.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, you blew me away with the telescope thing.
Yeah.
Because that explains, and there's such a consortium, a worldwide consortium in this. And then you step back and you go, isn't this kind of a little, like whatever you've explained with the trading, isn't that a little bit cheating? Because that means you're always, I mean, who little traders can't afford this high tech stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of, there's an element of that going on in the book is, we think about the system, and you hear people say all the time, the system is, Wall Street is rigged, it's all gamed. But nobody's really thought about it, or at least talked about it to a great extent, on how it's manipulated on a transaction by transaction basis in trades that are happening in a blink of an eye. Literally, right? Everybody thinks of it on the macro level. It's the big bad investment banks.
Yeah, but only
it's the central bank.
though. all we see are what's in movies. And, unless you actually get to go to the trade, where they do Wall Street, the trading places, you're not going to see them. And then you get into the high speed and how
Right.
quick and how cunning it is.
Yeah. And to think that it's 70% of the trading is going on that way, and it's made the system a lot more opaque. That's the downside of it. Yeah, and Wall Street really hasn't done a very good job of balancing the utility of these algorithms, because they do bring a lot of good to our lives, right? It's nice to have instant directions to wherever you want to go or things like that. So algorithms aren't necessarily a bad thing, but Wall Street didn't do a very good job of balancing the utility of those speed enhancing and all the other things that they brought to the electronic markets against the potential menace that they present. And I mentioned earlier in our talk that flash crash of 2010, nobody has figured out what went wrong exactly. So, which is a scary thing to think in 15 minutes.
Well, they don't want to know, do they? And the people that do know, they don't want you to know.
Well, I think everyone, if anyone has figured it out, true, because if it happens again, they'll have the advantage over somebody else who hasn't figured out what went wrong with it. So, and there's all kind of ways I could have gone with this story. I mean, in the hands of, you could make the bad guys boobs who don't know what they're doing. You could make the bad guys greedy. You could make the bad guys terrorists. All of those. Any of those things could have made for an interesting story, but I wanted to keep it more about this young woman who decides to pay off her mountain of college debt by, taking on a Wall Street gig for a short period of time, and uncovers some pretty disturbing secrets about what really goes on. And I think readers will have fun discovering those secrets too as they read along.
Oh, definitely. It's really hard to put the book down. And I don't say that about too many books.
It's great.
But again, like I said, you really open my eyes on a lot of stuff. You learn as you read. It's incredible the knowledge you have, and scary.
It is kind of scary because, like I say, you don't know where this will go in the future exactly. I mean, we know that algorithms are we hear about it more and more and more and more. Whether it be, like I say, the recommendations to what we purchase when we're on Amazon or some other online service. I mean, we all understand that there isn't some poor guy trapped in a room, reviewing our purchase records to make those recommendations to us. That's all computer driven, which are all algorithms at work. But where might go in the future, you've got. I mean, one of the scariest things that I really uncovered in the research, and I did not put this in the book because I hate writers who just, find something interesting in research and they just throw it in the book, whether it advances the story or not. But I'll share this one with the readers anyways, that, we've all had that experience where we've called into a customer service line. And the first thing you hear is, this call may be recorded for training purposes. Well, and we all say, well, no problem, training purposes, fine. Well, what you don't realize when you say yes is that right at that instant, about 6 million algorithms click in, and it's analyzing the tone of your voice, your sentence structure, your syntax, what pronouns you use, and it's assigning you a personality quotient. And I'm not making this up. This is not part of the book. This is fact. This is not fiction. And that personality quotient is then linked to your phone number, so that the next time you call in, they know who you are and what your personality is. And your call is then routed to a customer service representative who has a similar personality. And the company that has designed and invested tens of millions of dollars in developing this personality quotient algorithm has, billions of conversations, these recorded conversations stored in a warehouse the size of a football field in Minnesota.
My mouth dropped open. Okay. Can we say no to this stuff? The calls recorded. What happens when you say no?
Well, personally, I do think it's a little deceptive for them simply to say, this call is being monitored for training purposes, because it's really not. It's really not.
Well, I'm going to
So,
start saying no. No. Oh my God, my
yeah,
mouth just dropped open. Probably if you would see me, it'd be dropping, bouncing off the floor.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, there's just all kinds of amazing things that are happening, but through the penny jumper, you sort of learn about. It's one real life example, even though it's a fictional story, but it is a real life example of sort of that algorithms run amok, basically.
Oh my gosh, we're out of time, James. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's been